Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Prospect Bay for the first time in a long time. And the first thing I'm gonna do today is turn on some game music, because I've been a little bit paranoid about uh, copyright issues lately. Seems that some people have had issues with watching a few of my videos. But anyway, we're gonna jump straight back into Legos, and as the city loads, I'll tell you what's up and explain my absence of more than 3 weeks. Well, basically, as you likely recall, was spending quite a few episodes on building up Legos, completing the highway system there, building neighborhoods, all that good stuff. Made a beautiful industrial district with tons of MMPs and such. And then, well, I was doing a bit more work off camera, and I plopped a strip mall lot and saved right after I did that. And I don't know if this lot is related or what. I never managed to find out why this happened, but apparently that save corrupted the save file, and there was nothing I could do to stop the game from crashing as soon as I loaded up Legos. So it was painful to try to fix that. You can imagine it took something like 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes to get through the whole process of starting up the game and loading the city tile. And as soon as I got through, it would always crash right away. Or at least as soon as I closed the initial dialogue boxes the game was throwing at me, about fire service and stuff. So I tried many things to solve that. I was removing all kinds of plugins. I reinstalled the game even, reinstalled the NAM even, even though I very much doubt that had anything to do with the crash issue, but I never quite could figure out what was causing it or find a fix. So I had to go back to my backup, and I had been keeping backups for all the cities in Prospect Bay because I did foresee that something like that might happen. Only problem is, the last backup was months old, 3 months old about. I had only just finished building out the rail system for Legos at that point when I made the backup. So I lost, hours and hours of work. And I actually went back to that backup, and in the last week, I started playing SimCity 4 again, after being just really sort of burnt out on the game after losing all that work. And I've probably spent, you don't even want to know, like 12 hours or something in the last week on Legos trying to get it back up. Last time when I built the city, I basically did the eastern district off camera mostly, and you can see I'm going over with my mouse on the map where I'm talking about. And I did the western half of the city mostly on camera. So this time around, I went ahead and did most of the western part of the city off camera, and I'm going to do most of the eastern district on camera, even though, as you can see, last night I actually had to go at starting work on the eastern side of the city, and I built sort of the downtown for that area. But before I get to work, I think I'll just show you a bit of what I've done with the city. It's quite a bit different from the first time I built it. And of course I had to demolish almost everything from the 3-month-old save in order to make room for the new stuff I wanted. So starting at the highway that leads to Masawa and San Ginés and all those other places we were working on before Legos. As you can see, it no longer shoots right through. Instead it makes an S-bend over here. I have a very similar trumpet interchange to the one I had before. And a similar deal with how the north-south highway kind of continues through and terminates in a boulevard that goes along the waterfront here. Just zooming in real quick. Yeah, this park is a new idea. I didn't have anything like this in the earlier version of the city. It's kind of a central feature for the eastern downtown of the city. I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. Reminds me a lot of real-life downtown parks, in a way. Yeah, this sort of northern part of the eastern side of the city is a fair amount denser than the equivalent neighborhood was in the last iteration of the city that I lost. And most of the eastern side of the city isn't going to be too dense, but I figured it would made sense to have one fair-sized apartment district. You can see, especially around this rail station here, there are quite a few big buildings, and also over by the bridges, a lot of this stuff is actually zoned for medium density, even though it's there are light density buildings on the lots right now. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of how this road network turned out. You can see that there are essentially these three parallel east-west boulevards through this area, and they all have individual bridges this time around, which connect them to the main downtown area of the city, which is on the west side of the river. You can see I didn't use a central station type. Previously I had a bigger rail station around here, you know, with double track and everything. Real central station feel. This time I just replaced it with a couple viaduct rail platforms because I figured, you know, the functionality is pretty much the same. And frankly, most cities with modern rail networks nowadays don't have huge flashy central station buildings. The trend is really toward copying the mass transit aesthetic with commuter rails nowadays. So I think it works out pretty well. Yeah, as you can see, I've got this is the tallest building in the city right here, the Boleyn Tower. It's a low-wealth housing project right in the center of town. These are all major intersections. Most of this area is a fair amount different from the last time I made it. You probably recognize this one avenue that runs east-west here and interchanges with the freeway. At one point, I actually lost this when I went back to the backup, but at one point there was actually a streetcar running along this avenue all the way over to about here. And as you can see, on the west side of the freeway here, I redid the industrial district in a similar fashion to last time. Although it is a fair amount different this time. The industrial buildings are actually almost exclusively plops, except for like these three, I think, plus maybe one or two more tiny lots somewhere. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, that's the other place that is not plops. I think it turned out looking pretty cool. As you can see, a couple of the main north-south avenues in the area just go straight into the industrial district, to the point where most of the road frontage in this area is on 4-lane roads, which I think is pretty cool and realistic for a place where you're definitely expecting lots of trucks to be going through and, you know, loading and unloading. And I mean, there's a lot of space for them to pull over, but still, who knows what kind of crazy stuff could happen on these roads. And yeah, it's helpful to have it wider, especially for these 15-mile-an-hour turns, because trucks have a bit more leeway to get out of their lane without clipping buildings and such, and curbs. Yeah, I still have a little port area rail platform for passengers, even though it's not the most realistic thing, since it is definitely primarily freight lines through this area. And as you can see, this time around, instead of 2 rail yards, I actually have, I thought, oh yeah, this time, instead of just 2 rail yards, I have 3. This is the original one right here, the very first rail yard, so I didn't touch that since restoring the backup. This one is new over here, and this is the 3rd rail yard. And I have not 2, but 3 functional seaports this time around, and they're all on the same pier over here. Lots of Nice empty open space on this pier too for storing containers. And over here, this time around, instead of reconfiguring the whole break bulk dock arrangement, I kept the original port, one of the few parts of the city that is actually largely intact. Although, of course, everything inland of the pier itself has been completely reworked. Yeah, anyway, let's go back to the normal view angle and check out the areas south of the port. Ooh, lots of dilapidation right now. But honestly, that isn't necessarily too big a problem right here. I was definitely going for, you know, an industrial inner city neighborhood kind of feel. You know, worker housing above all else. And frankly, I'm surprised that they have so much trouble finding jobs, because this city is a massive job center compared to pretty much everywhere else in the region. But I don't know, I guess the Sims just don't like long commutes. Yeah, anyway, I could really spend a long time going over all the neighborhoods in this city. I may as well do that for a little bit longer. This is a new feature over here on sort of the far western edge of the town. On the other side of here is Napoleon. You likely remember that city title if you've been watching these a lot. And yeah, I created a modular university using the University of Clayhurst plops. And I think it turned out pretty cool. It's a little bit blocky, but you know, a lot of universities are like that in real life. As you can see, I have some Godmo trees on the green in addition to the ones that are automatically planted as part of the lot. Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I managed to use pretty much every single building from the university set too without repeating anything, so I'm happy about that. As you can see, the neighborhoods around it are pretty classy looking for the most part. Some cheaper looking houses, but you gotta figure those must be rentals for students anyway. Yep. One other difference between Lagos now and how I had it before the corruption is that, except for a couple places over here in the port area, the main rail lines, as in the ones that connect to multiple city tiles once they leave this one, they are all fully grade separated. So that should be a bonus for letting the trains run faster. As you can see though, some of the spurs don't really need to be grade separated entirely, so there are some crossings. But those, in real life, those really wouldn't get that many trains per day, so it wouldn't affect too much. Yep. Got this iteration of the city has a new rail station as well compared to last time. As you can see, it serves this neighborhood over here. Pretty classy looking place, sort of at the southern edge of town. And it will serve this new neighborhood here when I get around to building it. In fact, I might do that today after I finish showing you guys around. Yeah, as you can see, the highway is also a little bit different from how I did it last time, but I'll get around to that. You know, giving you guys a good view of it. Yeah, this mall is also a new idea. Like I said, I was plopping a strip mall right before the file got corrupted last time, so I figured I would have something similar this time around, but maybe a bit bigger, as befits a big city like Lagos. I think our population is actually upwards of 60,000. It's a bit more than last time I checked. Yeah, so I think it's a really cool looking lot. Lots of connections to the main road grid. And a lot of this parking is actually custom, because I felt something like this in real life would have larger parking lots, especially right next to a freeway interchange like this. Yep, it's probably the biggest job center in the city. Surprisingly enough, way more people work here than in the port, and it constitutes something like 2/3 or 4/5 of all the commercial jobs in town. Probably closer to 4/5, actually. Yeah, so a lot of people going there. Yeah, wow. More like something like 8,000. And the road network is, for the most part, handling that kind of thing fine. As you can see, these areas, south of the port, they connect real smoothly up with downtown, have a number of major arterials that cross over the freeway. And downtown itself is pretty much crisscrossed by major thoroughfares. Although transit is a bit difficult in the area of this interchange. There are very few roads that completely pass over it, except, let me see if I can find that one. Oh yeah, this is the only overpass that actually goes over the main body of this interchange, and as you can see, it only really passes over the main body and one of the outer ramps, so it's not even that much. But yeah, I might as well zoom out and give you a look at the freeway and some of the remaining peripheries of the city. Yeah, this interchange is huge. Previously, what I had was I had a freeway bridge in about the same place and a trumpet interchange here, so that means a three-way interchange. And then I had another trumpet interchange right south of this one that brought the freeway westward to the edge of town. This time around, I just shortened it to one four-way interchange, and honestly, even though I likely didn't save any space at all, I probably lost space doing it this way because it's a very complex interchange, and between all the smooth curves and all of the exits that it incorporates, yeah, there's just really no way to cut it down more than this that I've been able to find so far. Even here used to be a lot longer. I used to have another transition here, and I had to have a ramp out here, given it none of these buildings would have been able to fit if I kept that, or this road for that matter. Yeah, I like how this neighborhood turned out. It's pretty gritty. Some might call it unoriginal, but I like how the major road kind of wraps around the exterior of the neighborhood, and you know, we've got this that would be the collector road, I suppose, in real life terminology. And then we've got these two 4-lane arterials along the other two sides of it. So it's really designed to keep traffic out of the middle as much as possible, while at the same time not limiting the access for the people who actually live on these central roads to go straight to the arterials. So that's kind of cool. Whereas for the people out here, it would probably be faster just to take the outer road and, you know, have a chance to make a left turns and such, you know, when they have a signal for it, things like that. Yeah. So, and I really love how the city turned out. I also loved how it turned out last time. I kind of love both iterations in different ways. Yeah, as you can see, there are tons of these sharply curving on and off ramps at various places around this interchange. Down here too we have a couple, and on these two roads there are a few. I kind of went crazy with building these things. I don't know how realistic they really are, but it is kind of realistic just to have, you know, single directional ramps scattered here and there in downtown style freeways. So, you know, I think I'm going to keep it in the end, and it does generally improve connectivity between neighborhoods, even if in a lot of cases to get on the freeway you would have to take a U-turn to take advantage of this kind of stuff. Like right here you can see yeah, a lot of people here, looks like, take a U-turn up here at the first unsignalized intersection, because with the pathing on these NWM, tulip intersections, you actually can't make a U-turn there. So that's not really the best thing for traffic, but you know, it's not the worst either, and There really are such things in real life, I guess. You see, what I'm really trying to do here, I guess you could say, is to encourage people who live on this side of the freeway to take this road to connect to the other town, as opposed to using this overpass and that slip road. Because on the other side of the city tile border, there's going to be another connection to the freeway anyway. So the idea is, in real life, that would be a little bit faster, and it would help them avoid traffic lights and such. Of course, in SimCity, they just want to take whatever the traffic simulator deems as fastest, even if that includes a ton of U-turns. Yeah, up here, as you can see, there is a pretty large amount of volume on this freeway. I'm pretty happy with that. Not too much heading back in yet, and the paths aren't even showing right now. That will probably change in the future, though. And, oh yeah, also have a couple other parks I want to draw your attention to. Like this forest park right here, I'm particularly happy with. It's definitely one of the main waterfront features along the river. And it's got these paved trails kind of just meandering about in a couple places. Patterned after the one in Sochi, although it's only like a quarter as big. Well, actually probably even less than that. Yeah, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. Also got a bit of a decent looking park over here. Might as well zoom in to show you. This is pretty much the main drag of downtown too. This road, which actually follows the path of one of the original highways in the region. The highway that connected Lagos to Sammamish and all the other southern cities along the river. Yep, it just goes pretty much straight and has 4 lanes all the way until this intersection, where actually to follow the old highway route you have to get on this smaller road, which preserves the original path, which once was RHW2. Yeah. Then this road, yeah, it's also a major arterial, frankly, for at least for this one neighborhood. Yeah, the original RHW2 road, at one point, that one went along this path of this avenue, and or wait, never mind, you already knew that. Whose time am I wasting? I just want to show you one other artifact of the original city, is this curved road. You might remember, originally of course, this north-south one was a street, so it looked a little bit different, but yeah, that used to be where one of the main connections. Yeah, this east-west avenue here, which heads to the freeway, has a lot of sort of large buildings along it, and is the main provider of access across the port area. Yeah, that's also one of the very first sort of cross-regional roads. That's one of the reasons it's so straight, even though it goes through some of the oldest parts of town, so all the other roads, as you can see, have kind of had to be built around some illogical blocks. Yeah. Well, I've showed you just about all I can as far as what I've done in the city, so I guess I might as well start building something, you know? I think I'll actually just do this little corner of town though, just because it kind of looks out of place that, you know, the roads are in place but there are no buildings there, so I might as well take care of it now while I'm thinking about it. It's going to be mostly a residential neighborhood. Unfortunately, if you were expecting something else. This looks kind of weird. Looks like I have to redo that. Ooh, but I can't really. Oh, that's because that is fractional angle, huh? Well, that explains everything. For a minute, I thought this was diagonal, and I was trying to build that kind of smooth curve. But it turns out I have an extra tile. Alright. So it is right near this major freeway exit right here. Even though this road might seem somewhat, you know, not too important, being as it's only 2 lanes, but still, it is a fairly significant route for people who live around here at least. Yep, only really room for that there. Honestly, I could probably even make that commercial right there. Having that road like that sort of makes it look like that wouldn't be a bad bet. Maybe I could put a little bit of parking right next to that commercial building. That probably wouldn't look too unrealistic, especially since it is near